Yeah, really well played. Just got it over the head of the slip in the end. Crows couldn't do anything about that. There's a little bit of a risky element in it, but pays off on that occasion. Yeah, see, I mean, I suppose, look, it's my own ignorance, but there's something about that. I feel like we should make more of it.
And you got to remember as well, Mel, that, you know, from that Cricket World Cup League Championship, World Cricket League Championship, I'm getting my tongue twisted with all the different names for the competitions here, but it was the Dutch that ascended from that to the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup Super League. So if the Super League returns, and this is something I've spoken to a few of the leading sides about, you might think it's ludicrous that the teams don't know in advance, but it's just the reality of world cricket. You might say it's wishful thinking, but if the Super League returns, if they decide to go with, let's say, 13 or 14 sides in that Super League, there's a bit of talk they might look at a 14-team Super League with two pools of 6, 7. And then you'd play, let's say, maybe home and away against the six sides in your pool. That would also, then you'd probably put India and Pakistan into the two different groups for political reasons. They can't play bilaterally at the moment. It would solve that problem. But the only way that the ICC would decide upon who the two associates were from this cycle is the first and possibly second ICC Men's Cricket World Cup League 2. So it's something that Nepal suffered actually in a recent Asia Cup qualifier. He's cut away. There'll be at least a couple. Tejan Manor, who does the sweeping. So they went to the ACC Men's Premier Cup last year in Oman, trying to get back to a second Asia Cup consecutively after qualifying for their first and taking on India and Pakistan in the ODI format. That rotates between ODI and T20 format depending upon what the next and closest World Cup is. So they lost their semi-final to the UAE, but the rumours were, it wasn't confirmed at the time, that the Asia Cup might be expanded from 6 teams to 8. So they've lost the semi-final, which in theory ended their qualification chances. UAE went on to win the tournament comfortably. Mohammed Wasim was sensational. They then had a third place playoff to get up for it. I think it was the very next day, less than 24 hours later. I have a very close relationship with Monty Desai, continue to do so, the former coach. I did my level 3 coaching course with him 15 years back now. So we've always been very good friends. And I went to Monty that night. As Paolo does get the sweep out, we'll pick up a single. And I said, Monty, the talk I'm hearing, it's not confirmed, is that the top 3 from this thing are going to qualify, even though at the time of the competition it was only the top 1. I said, I know it's going to be so difficult to rouse your boys because they're so disappointed having lost to the UAE and they're heartbroken and crestfallen, but the game tomorrow against Hong Kong, you've got to get them up for. And I said, I'll leave it up to you. I'm not the coach, you're the head coach. I would tell them if I was you. I would say, guys, edged away should be a couple. Sven Makeren does the donkey work. We'll keep it to 2. And actually, I don't know whether or not he did tell them in the end. I left that up to him, not my place. But it proved to be true. It proved that in the end, as we see a little plane head in towards Dundee Airport, that they changed it. So it's so unfair in one way on the associates, but it's also the reality. And there's track record of this happening on multiple occasions through different formats and structures. This is Perifi, swept well in front to square. Races to the rope, beats the dive of Michael Levitt. And the 50 comes up in some style from Bim Sharkey.
Good to see the locals getting involved as well. It's the first boundary we've seen in a while is played. The sweep and the reverse sweep on this occasion gets it forward because he's picked up the length so early. That dive was a long way off in the end. It looked spectacular, but he had no chance of getting there in time.
Michael Levitt is prepping for the Olympics. He's thinking 2028 LA. We're seeing cricket return. He might be on the springboard platform with a dive like that. Oh, Levy, that's an absolute... God, he went into the air, didn't he? Theatrical.
But he was still... He was, I reckon, 2 metres behind it. But it's the effort that counts, Lenny. The commitment. 13 overs gone now. Nepal 52 for 2. It's It's been a tough start, but this partnership now is starting to become productive. Want to hear more of this, Lenny?
Yeah, so the reality is that whilst you can't presume or know that if you finish first or second in this league, you might end up ascending up to a returning Cricket World Cup Super League, but there's so much talk right now about trying to get context into ODIs. I'd love to say it's going to happen. I can't say that for certain. The reality is the governing body, the ICC, is very much guided and serving its members. It's 12 full test members and it's 96 associate members. And they're the ones with the kind of the key. People often ask me, well, who makes these decisions? Well, the real key decision makers in world cricket are the ICC board, the Chief Executives Committee, and you could say the Development Committee, but it's more the Financial and Commercial Affairs Committee that dictate exactly how the game is run. We get another look at that dive. Reverse swept and a good diving stop. Body on the line. I think it's, well, Klein, isn't it, who's maybe worn that in the shin as much as anywhere, but he saves 3 runs. So if the cricket committee, they're the other key decision maker, if they decide, well, hold on, we want to get the Super League back, and the members agree to it, and there is a push. The talk I'm hearing is 4 or 5 of the 12 full members want the Super League back.
Well, Australia was certainly one of them. It was being reported in Australia that Mike Baird, the chair, and also Todd Greenberg, the CEO, were very much pushing for a return to the World Super League.
And the reality is, if that happens, it has to be better explained, better marketed,
yes,
and better understood, not just by the administrators and the boards, but the broadcasters and the pundits and the journalists, and there's a big job to be done there.
And the players.
Players, absolutely. And there needs to be everything from the talk down at World Cricket Connect, sorry to go back to it again, was adding context and jeopardy. The word jeopardy was used again and again. And it's the same for any World Cup format of any kind. Without jeopardy, that's why the 10-team World Cup, okay, we ended up